In this video, I'm going to be giving you the three amazing, incredible things, the three of them, that create an incredible conversation. So if you want to learn how to be more interesting in conversations, how to really be more engaging, how to not really worry about what's going on, basically, if you focus on these three things, if you know these three things, it's like any conversation can just work, can just flow, and also you'll know how to recognize a really good conversation, and you'll know how to create an even better conversation. So the first thing I want to talk about is threads. So let's call a conversation topic a thread. And I want you to imagine when you start a conversation, you're basically creating threads between you and that person. The more threads you have, the better the connection is, the better the feel of the conversation is. We're basically giving you, showing you really what the basis of connection is. But here's the thing. To create a really interesting conversation, you want to create many threads, but not necessarily end them. Because look at the best conversations. The best conversations are when you start a million topics, but you never actually finish any of them, right? Like, you can probably think of the best dates you've ever been on where you've talked to the guy about absolutely nothing, but it just feels absolutely amazing. So when you look at this, right, when you create these threads, when you're not afraid to start new conversation topics and you haven't finished the old ones, what you're doing is you're actually creating a deeper, more enriching conversation. Because you don't necessarily have to finish these conversations. You can finish them up another time on another date. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is the idea of a beat. Now, a beat is something that they bring out when it comes to screenwriting, where it's like you have the scene and you have the sequence, for example, but a beat is the moment to moment. It's the one thing someone's really excited, and the next thing someone's really sad, and the next thing there's a bit of drama that happens. Each thing is a beat. And what happens is, more often than not, the more beats a conversation has, the more exciting it is. Now, there is the law of diminishing returns. When you have too many beats in a conversation, you come off as a bit like you can't really hold down a conversation, right? But look, what I'm trying to suggest here is when it comes to the idea of beats, you don't necessarily want to have to worry about having to be happy all the time, because that actually is quite boring. Imagine if you watched a happy movie and it was extremely happy all the time. It would be a bit ecstatic. It actually wouldn't be very engaging. And I find a lot of women, more specifically, more than men, and even some men as well, are actually really worried about expressing negative emotions. When a negative emotion, maybe expressing some sadness, maybe expressing some loneliness, maybe expressing some issues you've had in your life, allows the person to connect with you because it's actually a negative beat. So you might have one really excited, like, ooh, this is really excited. And then the next thing's like, oh, but this reminds me of this bad thing, but it was really cool, and then it was this thing. And the more beats you have, one, the more interesting the conversation is, but two, they actually get to know you. Because you're not someone who is happy all the time. You're a fucking human being, right? Look at the Emoji Movie. The Emoji Movie is like this super happy movie about emojis. But even that has beats. Even that has a situation where things don't go well, and then they do, and then everyone's happy, but then this new thing happens. And that's what life is about. And when you try and only have one beat in a conversation, when you try and only have one thing where you're like, oh, must be happy, or must just get to know someone, and you don't have any excitements, look, then at the end of the day, you're not necessarily you're not showing them the real version of you. And the reason why I'm really mostly doing this video is because, sure, you could be the kind of person, and the rule is you can always use superpowers for evil, right? If it's a superpower, then you should always use it for good. And I'm teaching you this kind of stuff, and you can use it for evil if you want to. But what I'm trying to say here is that I want to give you permission. I want to give you permission to start conversations about nothing when you feel like you should. Or when there's a negative emotion, you can talk about it. The third thing I want to talk about is it's a really simple thing. It's just the concept of listening. What's the number one thing people want to talk about? It's themselves. So if you're ever nervous, if you're really shy, one of the biggest things you can do is just let the other person talk about themselves. Ask them a question, even listen to them and use their words back at them. Because if you use their words back at them, they actually feel like you've listened. And when they feel like you've listened, then they actually feel more connected to you because you've actually just opened them up. They really feel honest, things like that. All of these things that I'm sharing with you today comes from the idea that you don't necessarily have to know someone in order to really feel a connection with them. Because you can talk about nothing, you can express emotions, and things and connections can actually really spark very quickly when you have all of these elements in place. You know, this is why sometimes in the past people are like, oh, but I don't know his family, I don't know his favorite dog, I don't know these things, why do I feel so connected with him? It's like, who cares? You've shared emotions. That's the core of this video, is just learning about sharing emotions, that it's okay to, and it's okay to even share negative emotions. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a like, because if you did, I like you. And if you don't subscribe to this video, I will be the next Spider-Man in the 3rd or 4th remake of Spider-Man movies. All right, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Mwah, bye.